Welcome back to an episode of Swim Lessons. My name is Dallas Hanson, and today we've got a fun one with a guy named Rob Stanton. Rob Stanton reached out to me probably 3 or 4 months ago about possibly doing a podcast series on AA coaches in Montana and also some players. And the fun thing about Rob was he didn't know me from Adam. He just listened to a few of the episodes of Swim Lessons, really liked the message that we display here, and he thought, hey, we want to get our name out for AA football, for some of our players to get recognition, so why not use this platform? After a few phone calls, we agreed. We came up with a tour, if you will, of the state of Montana. We traveled 1,200 miles to all these different coaches, players, and it was one of the best experiences of my life, I have to say, and just getting to know each of these guys. But to get back to Rob, when I met Rob in person, he was just a great dude, just a great guy who I have a lot of admiration for, because in this podcast that you're about to listen to, he not only talks about football, but he talks about one of his most difficult life experiences. And not a lot of people want to share that, but I have a lot of admiration for people that do that, especially on a platform like this, and he did. And I think a lot of people will benefit from that story and benefit from the way he takes a look at life. Rob Stanton is in the Montana Coaches Hall of Fame. He's a state champion football coach. And like I said before, he's just a great person. And if you know Rob, you'll agree. But before we get to Rob, we've got a few sponsors that I need to thank. Number one is Billings West High School football boosters, who were able to make this possible, and all the AA football coaches that were also able to make this possible. Now, without further ado, I give you Rob Stanton, Billings West High School football coach.
Here come the boys. Y'all ready to go swimming, baby? Come on. Give it up. Get out of that water. I tried telling y'all, it's swim lessons, baby.
Rob Stanton, how we doing?
Doing well. Welcome to Billings.
Yeah. Appreciate you showing me around. That weight room you guys have is phenomenal. How long has it been in the process of getting it to that?
Well, it's always been intact, but we just want to make a couple upgrades and, get a little bit different flooring. And, we had some boosters that stepped in and called a lot of people, and the community was really good about helping us out, and they pumped a lot of money into it. So really the last 2 years is what it looks like right now. So
yeah, there's some colleges that don't have a nice.
Yeah, we're spoiled.
Yeah,
and it's used from 6 a.m. until 5 p.m. And
yeah,
I think we have around 600 kids that use it on a daily basis.
So summertime, I bet it's just packed with football players.
Football players and everybody else.
Okay.
So football, we go from 6 to 7:30, and then from 7:30 to 2 is all the different groups of people that go in there.
That's awesome.
It's great.
Well, hey man, I've got a lot of questions for you.
Okay.
On my way here, on my drive in, I end up talking to your brother Pete.
Okay.
Bit. And Pete Stanton, Dickinson State's head coach, he's like a father figure to me. So we were talking, and he wanted me to tell you that USC football stinks. So
he's right. He's right. And I was always kind of the rebel of the family, so they're all Notre Dame fans. So I decided to pick USC.
Well,
no rhyme or reason, but that's the way it worked out.
USC is making some splashes. They just hired NDSU's head coach, Matt Entz, as linebackers coach. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I think he's a very good coach, and NDSU's playing really good right now. And obviously he has a lot of success there. But, I was always wondering before this hire how you can not get a lot of athletes to play defensive side of the ball at USC when you can pay them pretty much whatever you want to. So, I think he's going to be a good addition. Heard a lot of good things about him as a coach, and obviously his record's pretty dang good. Yeah,
and I mean, the success he's had, like you said, at NDSU was phenomenal. So, it should be fun.
And they're recruiting out here. They got a kid from Glacier.
Oh, wow.
Offensive lineman that's playing that he committed to NDSU, and they had one of our kids, Malachi Clonch, that went out and did a game day visit at the NDSU. So
wow, that's awesome.
So they're reaching out here, which is good.
That's great to hear. So talking a little bit about Dickinson State, your football collegiate career was at Dickinson State, correct?
It was, yes.
And tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it was we had a very successful 4-year run when I was there. Back then, you didn't really, it's not a big deal. It's a big deal, but we have my freshman year, I was injured, kind of broke a wrist against University of Mary. Didn't finish out the year. Yeah, it's always Mary. And I remember I can see the play. It was on a kickoff, and And I just stuck my hands out, and next thing you know, my hand was kind of messed up. But
Damn.
And then from there on out, I had a pretty good career. I had 3 years as a running back, and we had a lot of very good success. We, the first year we won a playoff game against Carroll, and then we went out to Central Washington and got beat my sophomore year. And then my junior year, we got ousted in the quarterfinals, I believe, by Peru State.
Okay.
Nebraska. We were up 27-10 at halftime. And we still talk about that game a lot. And Peru State ended to go on win the national championship.
No.
Handedly. Yes. So,
wow.
When we get together or the group text, that's one thing that we talk about.
Yeah.
It still stings. Amazingly, that was so long ago. And then my senior year, we made it to the semifinals, and we got beat by Pacific Lutheran.
And Bijou was the coach?
Yep. Coach Bijou was the head coach.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay.
He gave me the ball a lot, so it was fun.
And you had a few rushing records there as well.
Yeah, I think, Jay Schillinger, who's from Baker as well, he has the individual record. And, as far as career, I think I'm second. But, I just, my son Connor was on a recruiting trip in Dickinson, and we ran into Zuroff, who was on the panel.
Yeah.
And Connor goes up to him and, kind of ribbing me a little bit and about touchdowns in the season. So now I'm 3.
Are you? Okay,
I'm 3.
because he broke that one.
He broke that. He and Jace are tied, but I had to let Mr. Zuroff know that I have 5 touchdowns in the game. And he only had 3,
awesome.
so I was like, yeah, I still got you there. He's kind of like, really?
That's great.
Yeah.
And then another fact that's really cool, I thought was interesting, was you played with your brother Dan, who was already there, the late Dan Stanton. He was a linebacker there, is that correct?
He was a linebacker there.
Okay.
And Pete was, my first year, he was graduate assistant coach.
Oh, really?
So all 3 of us got to be in the team at the same time. But Dan was a defensive player, and I was on the other side of the ball. So occasionally we would hook up horns,
That's awesome.
Yeah, get after each other a little bit. But, he was a linebacker, and, he was, I think my sophomore year I started, and I think he was a backup that year, but he ended up, playing a lot for at Dickinson. So,
well, another interesting fact that when I was coming up and reading about you and preparing some notes, you and Dan went into the same Hall of Fame class, correct?
Yes. At Montana.
From Montana.
Yeah, from Montana.
What kind of feeling is that?
It was, because
he had passed away.
He passed away before that.
Really?
So, yeah, I think it was 2015. Is when he passed away, and we were both inducted the COVID year of 2020.
Okay.
So, it's kind of a sad feeling right away.
Yeah.
Knowing it's special, but also sad that he's not here, and you kind of wish he was here, obviously. And you go in together, and it's supposed to be a cool thing to be together. And it was great to have his kids were there, and they sat in the seat for him. But it was you kind of, it's something you don't expect. It's not a goal.
Right.
You not have a goal to be in a Montana Hall of Fame, but he's a special person, and I still talk him as is instead of was. So it was a good feeling, but also kind of a sad feeling too that he's not there, and he was a heck of a coach and a great teacher and a really good leader.
That's
probably the best thing is how he could lead, and he was tough. He was ornery too. He wasn't afraid to speak his mind, and he wasn't afraid to stand up, and he wasn't afraid to confront if he had to. He was tough.
And your coaching career, did it start in Miles City with him?
Started in Miles City with him. So
wow.
Yeah. So the first 9 years of my career was in Miles City. So we coached junior high football together.
That's great. What was that like?
It was good. You come from a college football program, and and I remember talking to Coach Arlen Hoffman.
Really?
It was at a wedding, and he asked me, "Okay, you got the job in Miles City. That's great." And I said, "Yeah, it's just junior high." And he corrected me and said, "Don't put a just in front of it." He said, "You're coaching football and you're helping young men." Like, you're right. So we started together. We did track together. We did junior high football, and then eventually, I think it was after a year, then we moved up to the high school ranks at Miles City. So we probably coached together for 7 years.
Wow. Well, that's
fun.
That's a lot of great memories.
He was a prankster too. So
really?
Oh yeah.
Do you have any that you can share?
Lots.
give me one that comes on.
One that we always talk about this when we were together. So when we stayed in the hotel room, and this was also for the Montana North Dakota All-Star game, which we coached together with my other brother Jim.
Oh wow. Okay.
And whenever he'd get us every time, and he would say, I forgot my room key. Can I use your room key? I got to go to the bathroom. So he would go in there, and we'd have a football function, or we have a team dinner, and we're out of the room for 3 or 4 hours. He would go in there, and he would crank the heat as high as it could go. So you walk into that room at midnight, and it's like 95 degrees, and it won't cool down because it's like in the summer. So that was one of his specialties that he did, was making sure the rooms, and he got everybody.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a good memory. Now to kind of shift gears, let's talk about where you currently are, and let's talk about AA football. When did you apply for the job here, and kind of take me through that process of application to getting the role?
Yeah, and it was, at first I was a AA. The track and field is where I started here. And
so you weren't hired originally?
I was hired originally I was also assistant football.
Okay.
So I worked with Paul Claiborne, and Paul was the head football coach in this school for 30 years.
Whew.
So if you look up behind me, he had a mustache, and he always wore a straw hat.
Oh, okay.
And when he retired, I'm like, we will never take that down as long as I'm here. And I always say this is his program. He started this. He built the tradition, and I'm just kind of maintaining it and hopefully not screwed up. But after, I believe I coached with him for 16 years, somewhere in there. Maybe not quite that much, 13 years. And then when he retired from teaching, and I wasn't going to apply for it.
Really?
And I waited for a while to apply for it. And one of the things that Paul got me on was, he said, if you can handle somebody else walking through that door who hasn't been in part of our program as the new head coach, then don't apply. So,
wow.
Dang.
Yeah, that's pretty.
He's right all the time.
Yeah.
And so I did apply and got the job in 2015 and been the head coach ever since.
Oh, that's awesome. So I love asking this question to head football coaches, but what was kind of your first year? Hey, I want to establish this. Did you have like a slogan that was coming to your mind right away, or what were like your first steps in establishing a good program?
The hardest thing, and you get the advice from everybody, is to be yourself. But that's the hardest thing probably to do, because you want to model the program after somebody like Paul. Not necessarily a model, but we probably went a little bit more up tempo. We didn't huddle. We kind of tried to change some things and realize that we want to go fast. The Montana Grizzlies at that time were 90 plays a game. We wanted to model that a little bit after them and get the ball to some of our athletes. And this is offensive perspective, of course, but we want to make sure that get as many kids on the field and get the wide receivers involved and make it really fast and get as many plays as you possibly can in a game. And Paul would always joke that like people ask him how's the team going to be, and he would always say, we just hope to get a first down.
That's
and
awesome.
Then my first game as head coach, we didn't get a first down until the third quarter. And I called him the next day, and he always sent a text hanging in, and I was like, man, you are right. It's not as easy as everybody thinks or says it is.
Yeah, 100%. That's I like that. Just trying to get a first down.
Yeah, and we didn't get one for a long time.
Really?
We got to be like 30-6. Yeah.
Was your first year not the best? Or
first year, every year I've been the head coach, we made the playoffs.
Oh, wow.
The first year we started at 0-3, then we made a run. I think we won 6 in a row, and we ended up 6-4. Made the playoffs and got beaten in the first round by Billings Senior. That's when they were Gabe Salser, who just got done at Texas. He was a sophomore then, and Billings Senior was the team to beat. And that's what I like about AA football. It's in order to get better, you need to try to catch those teams. And my first year, we tried to model things after Billings Senior. Mm-hmm. They were the team to beat, and that's what we wanted to be like, and try to steal some things from them. And just competition makes everybody better. And they were really good for 3 years, and we wanted to hopefully get up to their level.
What was it like first year head coach starting out 0-3? Did you feel quite a bit of pressure? Or
not necessarily pressure, but that's right when Dan was going through his last days. So
no.
Yeah, I remember after.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we were 0-3. We played Billings Senior that night, and they beat us 27-0.
Whew.
And I go up to the hospital afterwards. This was Friday night. I go up to the hospital afterwards and just kind of sitting with him, and he wouldn't go to sleep. He wouldn't close his eyes. And I would talk, and he would look at me. He knew exactly what I was saying. I just said, we got beat 27-0. And he kind of gave me the look like, you guys suck. You got some work to do.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, or the next Saturday, probably Saturday, 9-10 o'clock is when he passed. So
wow.
So we were 0-3 and lost my brother. So
how do you come back from that?
rely on a lot of people. And, that's, I think, in life you have to do is rely on people. And that's why the coaching fraternity is pretty amazing. We like to beat each other. We like to compete against each other, but we really have each other's back too. And I didn't go to practice for 4 days. And I hopped on the bus and got my first win as a head coach against Missoula Hellgate that day. But the assistants took care of everything. So,
what kind of feeling was that after you beat Hellgate after your brother passed away?
it was, first of all, you're glad you were 0-4 because I think you'd be laughing like,
Yeah.
But it was, all the coaches came out with, it was really emotional. They came out with Stanton Strong T-shirts.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they didn't have the regular coaching gear on, and they hid it from me, and they didn't have it out until right before kickoff. You look over, you're bawling on the sideline as there's a T-shirt like that, and it was also just the whole week was so emotional, and you're just drained, and obviously very happy, and a lot of people reaching out and sending cards. But it was a great feeling, but also like you're just tired.
Yeah.
You want to kind of go to sleep for a while.
Yeah, you just kind of spent.
Yeah, just emotionally you're done.
Well, you touched on it a little bit there, but I think that's a big part of it. Your friends, your family, and what's really unique about football is it's not just like basketball where you have 15 people on a roster. There's 50 kids, and it's like a huge family.
140 kids.
140, yeah.
And probably at that time, probably about 160. And, the staff I have we have 12, probably 15 coaches too. So,
wow.
They're the first ones that have your back. It's great to be part of a team. And I think that's one thing we miss in our culture and our country a little bit right now. It's when people are squabbling over stupid stuff, go to a football locker room.
Yeah,
they're not.
Right.
They're from different backgrounds and they're the same people.
Yeah.
And football coaches are like that too. And we really we get along very well, and we have each other.
Man, thanks for sharing that story. That was fantastic. Probably the best story I've ever heard on this podcast. So when you messaged me on Twitter, you wanted to kind of talk about AA football here in Montana. And after our phone conversation, I looked into some history and some facts, and AA football in Montana is a big deal.
It is.
Can you tell everybody listening kind of what AA football has meant to not only Billings, but Butte, Bozeman, the state of Montana? What does it mean for you guys to put on a show for the citizens of Montana?
It's obviously we're biased and we think that's the best program, and that's not a knock on anybody else because there's a kid from Fairview, Montana that's going to Montana State that's pretty dang good.
Yeah.
But we think it's just we think it's the best football in the state, and I think year in and year out you see the athletes that we produce, and I think it has a lot to do with coaching. It just doesn't happen. Obviously, the physical traits, they're long, they're fast, and I think after that, it's up to us. And the competition is extremely high, and if you don't bring it every week, you're going to get beat. And I think that's an amazing part of it too. But I think just what we do, we have a kid that's at Oregon State.
Wow.
He's number 2 on the depth chart as a true freshman or as a redshirt freshman. So.
He's a lineman?
Jacob Anderson. Yeah.
He's an offensive lineman?
Yeah, offensive lineman. 6'6" and 290 right now. And yeah, he started one playoff game as a freshman for us, and he's been starting ever since. So I think a lot of programs, AA programs around the state have guys that are playing all over the place. And in my thinking, will they be a professional football player? Most likely not, but they have an opportunity to enhance their education and keep on going, and be a part of something that is that's taken away really, really quickly with the amount of years you can play. So I think our coaches at the AA level are very, very good.
Yeah,
very good. And
talking to them all and kind of setting up this tour, if you will, of Montana coaches, they all seem really, really personal and relatable.
Yeah, and Ari and I kind of talked at the AA meetings, and I thought of this before, and Ari actually said it before I could say it, is we need to get a picture together.
Yeah.
And just because the room, since that picture's been taken, the room's already changed.
Yeah.
And, you're not going to be coaching forever. And going back to Paul, the 30-year head coach is probably not happening much anymore. It takes a lot of time. And all these AA coaches and coaches throughout Montana and North Dakota, your summer is booked with helping kids. You're not getting paid.
Yeah.
And you're spending 5 to 6 to 7 hours a day sometimes with kids in the summer. So but you have to do that not only to compete, but you want to do that for the kids too. So
Yeah.
I think our coaches in the AA level are very, very good.
What has the transition of athletes been like since you've been here?
They're they're faster.
Yeah.
They're the weights that the kids are doing now. We were just discussing. We have a trainer in our facility, and the only thing he does is weight training our kids.
That's awesome.
So everything is funneled through him.
Wow.
The girls' basketball players, the volleyball players, the track athletes, the soccer athletes, the football players, they go through Mark Johnston, and that's all he does.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
Not all he does, but he sets up the programs for all these kids, and I think the training is a big thing from when I first started. Of year round, of course, but not year round intense.
Mm-hmm.
And we, like this time of the year, I don't even want to see the football players, and they probably don't want to see me. So I think that's part of it, just how much speed development they do, and football is unique. We train to play, and you have to do it.
One thing that a lot of coaches have been talking about is dual sports and how it's kind of fading off, specifically in basketball, where they got traveling ball in the summer and not really time for anything else. They're skipping out on track season. They're skipping out on football season. Are you seeing a lot of that? You are.
Too much,
Too much.
And I think every kid should be at least in 2 sports.
Yeah.
The good old days, I would say 3.
Yeah.
But that's hard too. And I think sometimes we do kids a disservice at times by putting too much on their plate. Some coaches say they want dual sport athletes until it's time, and they don't. And I get it, you're trying to compete, but for one kid to do a sport year round, I think we do them a disservice. I think a coach, if he or she says you need to do this sport and this sport alone, and that kid's 14 or 15, I think that's selfish.
Yeah.
Because you have no
1000%.
idea what they could. And Doug Robinson was a former coach at West High, and the basketball coach, and he was always wanting them to go out with others for other sports. And the main thing was so there could be a positive leader in another sport that you gravitate to. A coach has pretty good influence, and he's like, they may not be very good at football, but that coach he's a good guy. So I think that's what we're missing too. And by having kids play in the summer, some kids don't even have weekends anymore in the summer because they're doing traveling stuff all the time, and it's expensive. And I just think sometimes we need to let them be kids once in a while too. And we're all guilty of it, including myself.
Yeah.
But sometimes we need to back off and let them be a kid too.
Yeah, that's a good part because they only get to grow up once.
Mm-hmm.
They only get to grow up once.
And we've had that before too, where some kids have said, I don't have a weekend off in the summer.
What do you say back? Sorry.
Yeah, and I will, and I think a lot of coaches who do it the right way, they'll back off and just communicate and let me know that, because we want them to lift in the summer and go to the camp in Dickinson. Mm-hmm. But if they can't, they can't. Mm-hmm. It's not like we're going to hold it against them. And obviously we want them out there. But if they need to take a break, they have to take a break.
Yeah, that's a
like
good point.
NCAA, they have requirements on hours. High school, we don't.
Do you think that's something that maybe be down the road here a little bit?
I wish, but I don't.
How could they
think
regulate
so.
that? That'd be tough.
Exactly.
There's no way they could. There's too many schools.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a former athlete, and she was track, basketball, volleyball, and she said she was doing about 6 to 8 hours a day in the summer.
Wow.
So it's too much.
Yeah, wear and tear on the body too, and all that. Well, let's talk a little bit more here about where we're sitting, Billings West. Tell me a little bit about this past season and kind of the future and what's on the rise here.
Yeah, we ended up 6-4 or 6-3 regular season, maybe a 6-4. We ended up 6-5 total. We went to the quarterfinals this last year. I thought we played pretty well. We weren't as good in some areas as we have been, but we were young in some areas too. But I think we had a pretty good year. We won a playoff game, and then we got beat in the quarterfinals by Helena Capital, who's a pretty good team.
Okay.
And they go to the semifinals, and we lost to Bozeman. Bozeman was really good this year, and Levi will probably be humble, but
yeah,
he's a heck of a coach.
Yeah,
he's a great coach and a great person. But we had a good year, and I think we have a lot we can build on for the next season. And we had 2 kids that were first team All-State as sophomores. So we think we have
what positions?
One's he was a tight end.
Wow.
Matt Ludwig, we call him Moose.
Ludwig, that was the last name of Rocky's head coach for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. So he's 6'3", 6'4", 230, and he ran 11,800.
Oh my,
Yeah,
jeez.
he's a dude.
Talk about a freak.
Yeah, and we had a safety, Elias Bonner, as a sophomore. He had 7 picks this year, and he was first team All-State. So
Wow.
we think we have some good players that will be in the hopper next year. But it always comes down to those guys up front.
Yeah.
That's where it comes down to.
That's got to be a good feeling to have that young core coming back as a junior.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I think we have a Malachi Clonch was a running back for us, and he was All-State. So we think we have some guys that come back, but so does everybody else.
Yeah. Kind of when we've been talking too, you've been talking about the recruiting process for your son. What's that been like as a dad to
Loved
go
it.
through that as a head coach?
Loved it.
Do you have any like questions that you think you might get answered that aren't being asked by every other parent, or?
Not really.
Okay.
I love the part of it. I could just spend time with them.
Yeah.
We get the window time, and we'll go to Jamestown, and we go to Dickinson, and we went to Bismarck this summer, and we went to Carroll a couple times, and Rocky, which is across the street. But those are, it's great to, you put your coaching hat on when the coaches are talking about philosophy, then you get you in the film room, which is really neat. But just kind of letting him go do his thing, but being a part of it in the background, and it's pretty special to do that. And on the way back, he usually slept and I drove, but it was just nice to be able to talk.
Yeah.
And he has really good questions that he'd always ask, and he has his head on the right way. So
That's good.
it was really good to be able to just spend time with him that you don't have normally.
What position does he play?
He plays wide receiver.
Okay.
He's 6'2", about
Okay.
175 pounds.
Okay.
I'm skinny.
Yeah.
And he played defensive back, so he played corner. So this year was the first year he played corner,
Okay.
and he ended up being second team All-State. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
That's
He's-
awesome.
He's got long arms, so that's
Yeah.
what everybody's looking for.
Yeah, heck yeah. Did Uncle Pete have anything to say at the Dickinson trip?
He did,
Yeah.
and Pete did a good job too. Pete gave him an offer after the Dickinson State camp,
Okay.
but he lets Coach Deere and Coach McCarville take care of that.
Yeah.
So that's the recruiting area, and Pete was the first thing to say, we're going to recruit you, but if you go somewhere else, you'll always be my nephew.
That's
And
wow.
you're always going to be my uncle. So
That's great.
whether you choose Dickinson or where you go somewhere else, he'll support him 100%, and get rid of the I'll be mad at you if you don't come to Dickinson, and not at all.
It
So
takes the
he's
pressure off.
big time, and that's why he lets Coach Deere and kind of be the
Yeah.
recruiter. And
Kind of do that.
even like coaching him, I didn't coach him directly. He was with the wide receivers and DBs, so that was perfect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first off, and I never got to really, but thanks for bringing me in. Believe it or not, we've been at it for 30 minutes already.
Oh wow!
I've got a few things I want to talk to you about. First off, we do this thing called 10 for 10. Okay. So these are questions. There's no correct answer. You just got to be quick with it.
Okay.
Okay. And away we go. Cat or dog?
Dog.
Hot dog or hamburger?
Hamburger.
Palm trees or evergreen trees?
Palm trees.
Good choice. Lake or ocean?
Ocean.
Favorite actor? This one tripped up your brother too.
I don't watch anything besides sports. So Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks? Favorite band?
I listen to podcasts, so I don't know. Air Supply. That's fine.
There we go.
I like Tupac. Tupac and Snoop Dogg has some good stuff.
that works.
I'll take Tupac.
Okay. What city in Texas has an NBA mascot nicknamed the Mavericks?
Dallas.
What city in Texas has an NFL team nicknamed the Cowboys?
Dallas.
What city in Texas spelled backwards reads salad?
Dallas.
Who is your new favorite podcaster / friend?
Dallas. And I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan too.
Oh,
so
you are?
Heck yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Heck yeah.
Sweet. Well, I've really enjoyed this, Rob. It's
Thank you.
been an absolute pleasure to come here, and hopefully our friendship continues. And one question I want to ask everybody, Swim Lessons is a podcast about overcoming the tough times, and leave us with something that maybe you say to yourself. I mean, we just talked a lot about your relationship with your brother who passed away in a tough part of your time. And what's something, Rob, that you say when your back's against the wall and you say to yourself?
I think you have to rely on a lot of people, and I think you have to treat people well through that process. I think if you don't do that and then your back's against the wall and you're reaching out, sometimes there may be nobody else to reach out for you. Happiness comes at a price. I think you have to, I think that's all grit. That's all relationships. That's all what you do as a human being. And everybody wants to be happy, but do we really know what that means? I think just relying on people and, hopefully that when things are bad, there's always going to be people that will support you, I can call you now.
Yeah, 100%.
But just those things of, I know you through Pete.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a nice friendship. And I think those
Heck
are things that are pretty cool. There's always one thing that's like with going back to Connor. There's always one thing we can talk about, and it's football. And
like
that should be forever.
That's a good way. I love that. Let's end it on that.
Okay.
That was good. Rob Stanton, everybody. And do you have anything you want to plug quick? Billings West?
No, I mean,
Facebook?
Billings West, Billings West football, we're going to sponsor the program, the podcast, swim lessons.
Yeah.
And, and I think people listen to this. We're really trying to promote AA football. And if you want to pitch in and sponsor this and hope we get the word out to not only Montana, but North Dakota and around the country if we can. There's some good stuff here.
Yeah, and maybe this fall I can swing through
Love to.
after camp or something before the season starts.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate you.
Thank you.